Okay. Now I'd like to invite on stage for our next session called Human Capital and Addressing the Staffing Gap. And this is a very, very important panel. And what I've tried to do is assemble some very distinguished people from different areas of the HR industry. So I'd like to welcome on stage Andrew Chan, all the way from Singapore, who's the founder and CEO of ACI HR Solutions. Andrea Comastri, a fellow Italian, co-founder and CEO of Hotel Etico. Scott Baer, president and general manager of Young Hotel Leaders, and the General Manager of Mercure Sydney Manly, and Megan, Group Director of People and Culture from Crystalbrook. Please welcome everyone up on stage. Thank you. Okay. All right, let's start. What are some of the, and we talk a little bit about this in the CEO panel and the challenges that people are having. What are some of the key talent challenges in the industry right now, and are they specific to the hospitality industry? Who wants to go first? Andrew. You're based up in Singapore. You've got like a holistic APAC sort of a view on things.
So just very...
Who are you, by the way?
Yeah, very quickly, who am I to talk about this? I run one of the, largest executive search recruitment companies that specialises in the travel and hospitality sector. Normally based in Singapore, but I have offices in Hong Kong and Sydney and Melbourne as well. When I spoke to Adrian, I said, I could probably offer a little bit of a regional insight. But in terms of the CEO panel that was on here this morning, I can probably say it's the same sentiment right across Asia Pacific. So I can certainly echo that. Hotels and travel companies in Singapore and Hong Kong are struggling with the same issues. We do a lot of recruitment work in Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia as well. So whilst, secondary cities where labour is a little bit cheaper, like Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, is traditionally less strained when it comes to human capital, they've also suffered because of COVID as well. And very quickly, I guess from a statistics point of view, because we also run a survey every year across the region, what we saw during COVID in those surveys was straight away COVID probably knocked out 50% of staffing across the hospitality sector. And the recovery rate to about now is, from what we've seen, still about 20-25% short.
Wow. Yep.
And that's from the people that were already working in the industry. But what a lot didn't take into effect also was graduates, so people that were doing travel and hospitality diplomas, degrees in travel schools that were due to graduate in, I think COVID was 20 and then 21 and 22, that either stopped the degree, didn't finish it, or finished their degree and then came out and there were no jobs, so they've left and gone to other industries and have remained in those industries and didn't come back into the industries. So our pipeline of talents have diminished as well. So not only did we lose talents across the region, but we also lost the pipeline. So that's what I've seen from a regional perspective.
Okay. Anyone else? What are the key talent challenges in the industry right now, and are they specific to a specific part of the hospitality industry? Andrea?
I suppose I can offer my contribution. Definitely, yes, broken record in terms of people. We offer a bit of a different angle. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hotel Etico Australia, which is Australia's first not-for-profit social enterprise hotel, and we train and employ young people with disability. And then help them find opportunities for careers in hospitality in the industry. So we try to help the industry to become more inclusive. We're very encouraged by the great appetite, actually, of the industry to be more inclusive. We have assembled a great range of partners, including Scott here and others. And so I suppose we can't solve the talent problem, the talent challenge, but we can help you with a little bit of diversity and inclusion component to it. So,
yeah, Scott.
Yeah.
From the younger, but I mean, you're also Mercure, big chain, but from the younger sort of generation,
Yeah, I think it's very much involved, and I think it's like a broken record, is the cost of living situation in Australia at the moment from a domestic base. We see that, you come out of studying, you're going into those roles that aren't as sought after. You've got your housekeeping, you've got your food and beverage attendants, your front desk agents. earning $22, $23 an hour and they've got to afford rent, based out in Manly, it's not a cheap area to live. So to attract talent, specifically at our hotel, Manly Pacific, those type of properties, it's quite tough at that kind of line level. And then you don't see that growth. You've got to see a pathway of development and where they're going to head to as well. So I guess the sentiment in our YHL Young Hotel Leaders Group is exposing people to the possibilities of the industry. It's not just operations, it's development, it's brokerage, it's all those facets of the business that you can still be involved in hospitality, but you can learn the core basis as a front desk agent and then use that kind of skill set in those future jobs. But it's painting that picture. It's up to the hotel hospitality schools to paint that picture as well. I know going through in my time, it was very much operations pushed without that kind of vision of how else can I impact the industry without being in a specific hotel. So I think it's important to be able to tell that story to then, provide that kind of 5-year, 10-year plan to keep people in the industry.
Yeah. Megan, from Crystalbrook, I know, great organisation, a lot of boutique, a lot of regional as well.
Yeah, one of the challenges that we have beyond just the normal staffing shortages is because we have some hotels in regional areas, Newcastle, Byron Bay, then heading up into Cairns in far north Queensland, is actually accessible public transport. So forget the housing issue, we all know about that, but actually the public transport issue, particularly around the Byron Bay area. Newcastle's not so bad, as long as you're living within about 10 k's of the Newcastle CBD, but Byron Bay is really difficult because the labour market actually lives about 45 minutes, 50 minutes away, and there's no way for them to get to work. 12 months ago, we ran a program I got some funding out of federal, I got a little bit out of state, working with local transport providers to run a bus from Lismore, pick up every day in Lismore, bring them into Byron. Beach Hotel were involved in it a little bit as well, and then took them back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's a great idea.
But every day it was a slog. We had to give numbers, business plans, just to make that happen.
Yeah.
And the funding dried up.
Yeah. So retaining talent is important as attracting it. What are some of the strategies that you're employing for employee retention for the industry, considering demands of the profession? We'll start off with you again, Megan, if you want. Do you have a training? Yeah,
absolutely. At Crystalbrook, we have a very comprehensive training program. We offer free vocational training. It's actually accredited training. All our employees can access up to an advanced diploma, completely free, funded by the organisation, and then it's very subsidised for bachelor degrees and even up to MBA level of qualification. Every single role within our business has a career map with a training plan in behind that. So as soon as you start with this, or even at the recruitment, the point of recruitment, you know what that plan will be to get you to each of the levels that you need to get through.
Yeah, okay, great. Scott, coming from a big organisation, what are you guys doing both at a hotel level and obviously at corporate level?
Yeah, so from the core side, we've got the Core Academy that's set up by our talent and culture team. It's very much every facet of the business that you want to learn that is accessible to all of our staff. It's kind of self-driven development, but also within the hotels themselves, we can set plans and kind of, forward-moving development plans to make sure that they're continually learning. I think a big thing that we do at our level is kind of versifying roles, so not just having a GSA or an F&B attendant or a manager on the front desk, but combining the roles to make them more kind of development focused. So you sit on the front desk as a GSA or a front desk manager, and then you get an exposure to food, costing analysis and menu engineering. So building those skill sets to further develop you, so you're not specifically in that role, but giving exposure. So when you start looking for your next job, it's you've got those experiences behind you to be able to kind of say it in an interview or put on your resume and continue to move forward.
And at YHL, do you guys do anything in terms of sort of motivating, or obviously I see a lot of events that you guys do. Do you do anything at that level?
Yeah, so from a YHL side, we do a speaker series called Take the Stage. It gives kind of the industry a chance to stand in front of their CEOs and, I guess, industry leaders and present projects that they're doing within their company.
Fantastic.
This puts them, I guess, in the spotlight and creates a name for themselves, creates a platform, and
Gives them that confidence. And
exactly right.
everything.
Yeah, so they can get up on stage and present in conferences and develop.
Yeah, Andrea, retaining
Well,
talent.
we're a training hotel, so
Yeah.
obviously training is our DNA. We train 15 young people from the age of 18 to 35 every year for a period of 12 months. They live on site with us. And so their level of training is not just focused on hospitality skills in their case, but also on independent living skills,
Awesome.
which is a significant gap and need for people with disability. They work across the entire spectrum of the hotel. We've got a great, strong belief that learning is done by doing and by making mistakes and getting into the deep end from day one. So they're paid from day one, they learn from day one alongside people with hospitality skills and disability skills, and then we help them secure employment. And so then the training translates into the hotels as well, because we train all of you guys on how to work with people with disabilities. So that's the other side of the training that helps retention.
Yeah.
There are 3, I believe, graduates working at the Fullerton here.
Fantastic,
So,
yeah. Andrew, what have you seen out there? Because you deal with a lot of organisations in terms of what they're doing retention-wise. Yeah.
I mean, learning and development's a big one because we work a lot with Accor in Asia, and certainly when we work with candidates. We don't do low-end recruitment, so normally middle managers and above. So training and learning is definitely a big advantage in terms of what we've seen. But it's an interesting one because COVID sort of really has changed the game a lot, because as an example, in the past, when we do any sort of headhunting or recruitment exercises, inevitably, obviously, the first question or first, 1 or 2 questions, that when we speak to candidates are, salary, how much more am I going to get, if we're going to go from Hotel A to Hotel B. But nowadays, it centres around flexibility and working hours and working conditions. So inevitably, that's now sort of crept up to being probably the first 1 or 2 question is, what's the working conditions like? Because everyone is looking for that. And, and I think the panel before sort of talked about that as well. Salary is one thing, but culture and working condition is certainly a big one, which COVID has sort of changed the game a little bit on us.
Is the industry seen as a low-paying, high-stress, long hours? I mean, we talked about it in the CEO panel. And is that putting people off? They can just work a 9-to-5 job, get paid their 70, 80 grand for admin or whatever it is.
Well, I don't think that mindset is, has ever sort of changed. I mean, the industry, I joined the industry when I was 18, in Australia. But I joined it because at the time when I was 18, I wasn't ready or wanted to go to university. So the hospitality industry was a great industry, and it's taking me all over the world. And I now run a company in Singapore and Hong Kong. And without that, without the industry, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So it was never. It was never about the money, and I think we probably could do more to convey that. Again, I think that the earlier panel sort of talked about that in terms of educating about how much opportunity the industry can provide. Yeah.
Anyone else want to answer that? Or?
I definitely think there's an image problem, an internal image problem, and it's a shame because it's such a vertically integrated industry where once you get in at the very easy entry
You have
level,
to start somewhere.
You can, so definitely there's an issue there.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about visa restrictions, the international ease of gaining a visa, but also sponsorship for extension of working periods. I mean, there's so many people wanting to come to work, live, maybe start a career in hospitality. There's a lot of great, very experienced people from overseas, but the government's not really doing anything. Scott, do you want to, a lot about that sort of,
Yeah, I think just purely at the Mercure in our internal recruitment, it's quite tough. You've got visa restrictions, the ability to extend visas or, work locally instead of having to go regionally to do your 6 months or your 90 days or whatever it is, really restricts the, appeal to hire someone on a visa because that there's a time limit on them, but also their flexibility of being able to work as well. So I think they're doing a bit of a better job, with the British kind of visa coming in to have more of an extension and less of that field regional work that they're committed to. But we're now seeing such growth from the China market and Asia market coming back into Australia, and there needs to be that kind of ease of restrictions there to be able to fill vacancies. I mean, those major jobs is the less desirable roles, I guess, in the Australian market. We find it very much in our housekeeping team. Being based in Manly, no one that lives there really wants to be cleaning rooms. So to be able to find people that aren't restricted to a certain period of time, it's tough. So
yeah. Megan, do you?
Yeah, it's a little bit catch-22 for Crystalbrook because in Cairns we survive on the 88-day people.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And we get them for the 88 days and then they're gone. So the cost is significant. We're doing a lot of work in local market to re-establish those pipelines. Because we all know that that's years. That's a 3-4 year vision, of which we're about 2 years into. So for us, 88 days is really quite tricky. We partner with our southern hotels because it's different seasons, try and move them around. So at least we keep the Crystalbrook culture and we don't have to retrain that. It's just a specific job.
Yeah, okay, all right. Let's talk a little bit about diversity and inclusion. What role does diversity and inclusion play in talent acquisition for the industry, and how can organisations create more inclusive recruitment practices? Andrea? I mean, I know you're doing it, but is there enough of it? Should everyone be doing a lot more? We talked a little bit about it, yeah.
I think there's definitely great appetite. We can see it across the board. Probably not enough understanding and knowledge, and it can be intimidating, the idea of employing someone with a disability. We think of productivity straight away, and my argument is I think we need to reframe the concept of value. Value is not just money. Value is a much bigger concept, and we see it through the feedback that we get from all our employment partners, from the Fairmont to the Fullerton to the Fullerton to Mercure and so on. The cultural diversity value, the image value, the cultural transformation value is there. So I think if we learn to reframe that and put aside the concept that someone may be 10% less productive, 20% less productive, let's be honest, are you all 100% productive every day?
No, and if you've got the right attitude, then it doesn't matter,
So reframe that, and I think then diversity and inclusion will come and great benefits will flow from it.
Yeah. Anyone else on that?
Scott? The diversity inclusion piece is massive. Our owners, Salts Brothers, push it every day to make sure that we're being inclusive, not just from people with disabilities, but from people with less fortunate backgrounds, different kind of religious beliefs and everything. So making sure that they're heavily involved in our operations because they give a different perspective. I think what Andrea and the team at Hotel Etico do. It's a they don't just employ and provide opportunities for the diversity for inclusive employment, but they also educate the operators, and I think that's the biggest piece. We haven't really delved into our special access rooms and how our front door or our access points are inclusive of all of our guests. And I think what Hotel Etico really do well is they provide that education, and they do it in a way that it's not down your throat. They do it in a way this is important. If you're going to capture 100% of the market, you've got to learn from 100% of the market. And I think it's a smart business at the end of the day because it's a person who's looking.
Do you think the government should be doing more programs like that? I mean, what can employees do as a sector to become more inclusive in their employment practices? I mean, it's a great opportunity. Andrea, what you do at Hotel Etico, we probably need another 10, 20 of those out there. Because that will...
Working on it.
You're working on it, okay. Well, what can the industry do, as a whole to have more, there's a staffing gap,
I think just get started and investigate and ask questions and learn. Don't be scared. You're not going to be sued by anybody.
Why would they want to be sued for?
There's often fear of health and safety, discrimination. The wrong. I'm not going to say the wrong thing. We do training on disability etiquette, on disability confidence, and so it's sometimes it's just a stigma more than anything. So you just need to get started and learn from those that have come before you because there's a lot to be gained. And as Scott says, society is diverse, and
Yeah.
often if you don't see that diversity in a hotel or any other service provider, you don't go and consume from that hotel.
Yeah.
You go somewhere else. Accessible tourism is a great opportunity.
Andrew, is there anything similar up in Asia, like what Hotel Etico is doing, or those sort of programs?
Yeah, I've got to say, I think Asia probably lags behind. Although in Hong Kong, I was involved in a program that Marriott has a hotel training school for special needs, and then they send them into the workforce, which I think they do very good things. But yeah, not a lot. I've got to say, Asia definitely lags behind what you guys do down here, which is wonderful, because I think that certainly would be a big benefit to the industry in plugging some gaps.
Yep. Okay. Andrew, back to you. What are some of the best practices out there that companies you see? Because you've got a bigger picture in recruitment, retaining talent, inclusion. What are some of the best examples? And I'll ask the question to everyone as well.
Yeah, look, I think it is at the moment around talent acquisition, around retention, learning and development, just having a strategy and plan around it. And I think all the big guys the big chains do have that. As I said, I work with Accor, very closely in Asia, and they do, really good work. We work with the talent acquisition team in terms of building up their pipeline across the region. And really sort of working with diversity a little bit in mind as well, looking at helping them with their pipeline of diverse, whether it's female general managers in different countries. So really having a plan. So then the next tier of hotels are starting to sort of see what the best practices are and emulating some of that. But yeah, it's really around the planning and recognizing that human capital is a big issue at the moment for the industry.
Okay, great. Who wants to answer that one? Who's doing it best out there in terms of recruitment and everything? Scott, me. Crystalbrook's doing it well. Scott's doing it well, but
I think Crystalbrook's killing it. It's the small operators. I think it's the boutique, the niche, the something exciting. It's the operators that make hospitality sexy. I think it's you've got to really have a draw card, and you've got to have a selling point. The big operators, the Marriotts, the Accors, they're just they're fantastic companies. Obviously, I work for them, but those niche kind of smaller hotel brands are. The locations of them.
Well, where do you start, Scott? I mean, there's a lot of independent small operators here. Where do they start?
I think it's, working with probably the education kind of providers and understanding there's more out there. I know going to Blue Mountains, we had our privileged partners where there was 8 brands that were thrown at us when we were studying, and you don't get the Crystalbrooks and the niche kind of brands that are very cool and inviting, and at Byron and Cairns and up in Newcastle, and they operate differently. They're lifestyle hotels, and lifestyles on the way up, and it's taking over the market. And to talk about a core is generalised, but then you look at Sylvia's 25 hours, and it's such a sexy model within Paddington, and to kind of be able to know you can work in a property like that rather than maybe a big box like Sofitel Darling Harbour, it may attract different people to enter the industry.
Yeah. Megan, I know.
I mean, at Crystalbrook, we're very privileged, we're very nimble. To make a decision in people and culture, I only have to ask one person, and that's our CEO. And many people in the room know Jeff and know that he's very entrepreneurial and likes, he gets into a challenge. Our point of difference at Crystalbrook with our talent acquisition is we don't look at how we can adjust the person to the role. We look at how we can adjust the role to the person. I've worked in the big players. I've adjusted myself over the years to make myself fit to that. And it was one thing that really attracted me to Crystalbrook, is I didn't need to do that. And more importantly, I could now create that space for the 1,000 people that work for us.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot. I've got great people in talent acquisition. We are pretty lean, good people and culture, and we've done a lot of work in the education space with our middle managers, so they're not afraid of making decisions, saying the wrong thing, that they can look at people from different environments, different backgrounds, different needs, and go, okay, that person's got the great attitude. how can I adjust the role so that person can just bring their best selves to work every day.
Wise words, and on that we'll have to finish up. Please thank my distinguished panel. Thank you.